Hey people, happy Memorial Day in America. That's what it is. So I want to go ahead and keep going here on these cheapies because it's fun, and it also is taking me back to the things that I've always enjoyed about record collecting, and one of the things that I really enjoyed when I was younger, when records were everywhere and you could regularly come across sales and get records cheaply. And part of the fun, I mean, I love music, but part of the fun is acquiring them and going through them. You know, it really is. And I mean, if I were extremely wealthy, I would still be doing the same thing. You know, if I were extremely wealthy, I'd probably live in a nicer home, but I would still be spending the majority of my money on music and records. So, if you folks have been watching, I've done 2 videos so far, and yesterday I had mentioned how Sunday was the last day that the Emporium, the Imaginarium, was open, and I was thinking about going back, and I did. So I went back for one last time, and even though things were extremely picked over, once again, even, you know, like there's hardly anything left, I still managed to find another 100 albums. So a total of 3 trips made, $15 spent, 237 albums in total I got. I averaged the price out to 6.5 cents per album. Now it's, you know, it's funny and sad at the same time, because as a working artist, I need to make record sales, you know, at full price, and it's a blessing and a wonderful when I can have record sales. And yet on the flip side, as a collector, you're always looking for bargains. You know what I'm saying? The cheaper you can get it, the better. It's just the craziness of life, huh? So, let me grab some records and show you. And I don't know what I'll get through today, but I will tell you this, that I took my time and dropped the needle on everything. By the end of last night, I had dropped the needle on all 200-something albums leisurely, because it's fun. It's, like I said, it's a ritual. It's a thing to do, just like putting together model cars or whatever it is you do that brings you pleasure. Taking the record, opening it up, and playing it, it's a pleasure. So here's one that, again, I would not have bought, except it was just going to sit there. Tracks. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. So looking at the cover, I can just see that the album is not going to be adventurous. I like things that are kind of adventurous and different. And it is. It's real, plain, white bread, kind of folky rock. Of interest is the guy with the sunglasses. This is probably Roy Bittan, however you say his name. Best known for being in Bruce Springsteen's E Street Band. This is probably one of his first professional bands that recorded. So there he is in this band. Of interest. Not a very interesting album of these records. Didn't like this one too much. Best of albums I'm not interested in, but you don't leave a best of Keith Jarrett behind. And these are early recordings of his from the Atlantic record years. Keith Jarrett. If you know jazz and you know piano, you know Keith Jarrett. You know his work. Here is one where I ended up having to get 2 copies of it, because I grabbed a copy the second trip. There were 2 of them there, and I grabbed the one with the nicer cover, only to get home and discover that the wrong album was in it. So yesterday on the 3rd trip, the other more beat cover was still there with the right album inside. So I got this. Joe South, Don't It Make You Want to Go Home. He had some great social commentary hits back in the 60s. Games People Play, Walk a Mile in My Shoes, which is on here. Just a wonderful message. Now, what's cool about this album is there is a Psychedelic Revolution #9 track on here, A Million Miles Away. And what it is it's a jam. And what they put on top of it is Joe South attempting to call the White House and leave a message with the president. It's kind of surreal. It's really cool. So not only socially conscious, positive lyrics, but a good psychedelic track on here. Here's one the Meatloaf stuff. It's just too overblown. I don't like it. This Jim Steinman, it was there. I really didn't want it, and I said okay. And it's pretty beat. What is of interest to me is Todd Rundgren's involvement all the way through. And you can hear him on all the music. You can hear Todd Rundgren's stamp. I like Todd, but this is just not for me. It's just overblown. Just not what I like at all. These you always see, and when it comes to light classical music, this is kind of light and really dismissible, but still I grabbed them. Suite for Flute and Jazz Piano, Jean-Pierre Rampal with Claude Bolling. You see these all the time. It's just okay. And then this other one, California Suite with Hubert Laws. It's like, again, trying to make supposedly highbrow music palatable to the common man. And I think these failed miserably. They're just trite. Okay, let me go and get something that was of interest. These next ones are just so-so. Let me find something of interest, okay? Because I got some interesting records. Okay, I'll just grab these. There's just a bunch. So, this one was a surprise. I used to have this album, Sean Phillips. Do You Wonder? It's one that I think I got as a promo as a kid, free. And Sean Phillips, American folk, is he American or Canadian? Folk singer started in the 60s. Went through a lot of changes. So on this album, he tries to embrace a more modern, kind of jazzy, funky feel. And his verbal approach at this time was just too white and straight, so it's really horrid. But then you get to side 2, and it's like, oh, I remember this now. Side 2 of this is fantastic. I highly recommend this, actually, for people that like good music. Side 2 has kind of a suite called All As All Is Played. And the whole side plays like a suite. Really good. I mean, all the way from classical into jazz, into prog, all the way back to just one man and his guitar, folk sound. I forgot how much I like the side 2 of this album. It's deceptive. Side 1, you can dismiss. Side 2, Sean Phillips. Really enjoyed this. Matter of fact, kind of just like, wow. Forgot. You always see a lot of Sean Phillips records, and he's one of those kind of artists where he was relevant for about a half a second. So now this is a reissue of his very first album called Favorite Things on Capitol. It didn't come out with this cover originally. I don't remember ever seeing this, and so when I saw it, I said, even though I don't really listen to Sean Phillips, this is kind of unusual to see a copy of his very first album, even though it's a reissue, so I grabbed it. Told you about John Clemmer, Greg Kihn. Okay. Another artist that you see all the time in the dollar bins, who's good. So it's like, what gives? It's Dave Mason. Dave Mason of Traffic. It's Like You Never Left is the name of this album. And it's good. Dave Mason is a good songwriter. He wrote Feeling All Right, some other good songs. And he's always consistently good. I still have Dave Mason records in my regular collection. So, and interestingly, he is also someone who has always had interesting guests. So, for example, on this album, Graham Nash sings harmony vocals on most of the album. Stevie Wonder is on one track. This is good. This is also good. Dave Mason is alive, and a live album. I think of Sequoia Flame right away because it's on the Blue Thumb label. Good label. Again, consistent, just good rock songwriting and singing. The guy's good. I have another album of his that I found, and it has Michael Jackson singing backup vocals on it. Interesting. Picked up two of these because his approach to jazz is just way too light. It's like I call it coffee table music made for courting women, which is not a bad thing. It's just that has nothing to do with why I buy music. So I have Heartstring by Earl Klug and Finger Painting by Earl Klug. He's a guitarist. And he has good technique, but the material and the way he presents it is just like wallpaper. It's like wallpaper. It's just like, it's just nothing. There's nothing there. Here are two albums by the one and only Al Stewart, who had the big hits, Time Passages, and what's that other one, Year of the Cat? So you see his albums, they made way too many copies of his albums based on those hits. So you always see Al Stewart records for nothing. So what's funny is now, I actually bought this when it first came out. Past, Present, and Future. Nostradamus on the B-side. He has that English nasally voice that you can really get tired of really quick. But the guy was good. Now this one I was thinking, I left this until the third trip, because I didn't think it, it's Al Stewart. You see him all the time, and as a result, you don't value them. I put this on last night and played the whole first side because this is good. It's good. It's like almost progressive, and then it gets into the pop thing, but it's really well played. 24 Carats with some band, Shot in the Dark. I was actually surprised how good this was last night. A surprise. Here's a band that I knew I wouldn't be here. Here's another Joe South. And this one, it's his other album, his other big hit, Games People Play. So I have that, but the wrong cover. I knew I wouldn't be into this, but I couldn't leave them. Duke Jupiter. What I call a good time band sound. Good players, a little on the Southern Fried sound, just a little bit, but not really. Just not, stylistically, not what I'm interested in. But again, 6.5 cents a piece. Okay. Here's two more really good records. Kind of beat. Hubert Laws. Hubert Laws has made a ton of albums. Flute player. One of my favorites, though, is Crying Song, which is over there. He does, I love his version of Cymbeline by Pink Floyd. I like his version better than Pink Floyd's. Okay, but In the Beginning, his run on CTI Records, good albums. Both of this, In the Beginning and Morning Star, both of these albums are excellent. Excellent jazz, excellent players, excellent arrangements. Not cheesy at all. Real good. Real good. All right, just a little more. Okay. Let me look for something. Okay, so here's one where it was a funk band that I didn't know anything about. Nature's Divine, In the Beginning. Cover slightly beat. Passed it up, and I said, okay, I'll get it. Partially because it's on a smaller label, Infinity. So I thought, well, okay, I'll give them a shot. This is good. Kind of like the SOS Band, not like Earth, Wind, and Fire. It's funky and sparse. A lot of people making a really tight, percussive sound. This was a pleasant surprise. Nature's Divine. Some good funk here. Matter of fact, liked it so much I looked it up to see, is this something, did I find something? So this is not valued, which means nothing. Probably if some more people heard it and might change their opinion about this. Very good. Nature's Divine. Okay, I want to get one more interesting. Okay, here's another one. That it was a big pop hit, but I liked it. Double. This album is called Blue. They had that big hit in the 80s called The Captain of Her Heart, which I really liked. Always liked that sound, the song, you know, the sound of it, the ambience, the way it was produced. Just high class and good. This album is good. I like the whole album. Some interesting things that the background, I looked into the background, and the background of the two guys actually is in the avant-garde, which kind of shows in the quality of the music. And they recorded this album at the band Can's studio, Can's Inner Space studio. Good album. I was surprised. Good album. Pick this up, The Hollies, A Crazy Steel. I always liked The Hollies. This is, you know, again, in their super commercial. Well, they always were commercial. So I'll have to listen to this all the way through. The first couple songs were like nothing. Just really, really nothing. Nothing at all. Red Rockers. I like this band. And I like their hit off of this album, Blood from a Stone. And that other hit they had, China. But I'll bet you the band was not happy with their company. The major labels and the things that they would make artists do to try to sell records and to appeal to a certain, you know what I'm saying. Sometimes they would just really put the bands through changes. I bet you the band were not happy about taking this picture in those goopy-ass clothes. And sometimes I think that, you know, the labels, what they do to exploit the artist, trying to make sure they capture an audience, is insulting. I always want to put those comments in. But this is a good album. Good band. Red Rockers. I guess that's what they would look like more naturally. Okay, I got a bunch more, and there's actually more interesting than what I showed in this bunch, but I'm going to stop here. It's Memorial Day in America. Enjoy the holiday.